We're just, then I'll say hello.
At this moment.
Yeah. All right, hello.
And any other guests? So if you're not on the Central Committee, you're a guest.
I see Sally Lieber.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sally.
Hi, welcome, Sally. And Sally will be speaking in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Hi, Margie. Supervisor Erin Hannigan.
And well, welcome, Erin Hannigan. Erin is actually a member of the Central Committee. We're always pleased to have you present. So thank you.
Great to see you.
So any other guests? Well, I think some of our speakers will be coming in a little bit later.
Yes, I'm here as a guest.
Okay, welcome, Gian.
Thank you. I'll close my mic.
All right, do we have any other guests? Well, welcome everyone and welcome all the
Margie,
membership.
this is Trevor from Ricardo Lara's campaign. He should be hopping on any minute. Nice to be here.
Welcome, Trevor, and welcome to Ricardo Lara when he arrives. So I'm glad to see everyone here. We're going to have land acknowledgement by the Parliamentarian.
Had to get myself off the mute. Are you ready for me to do that now, Margie?
Yes, please.
Okay. We pause to acknowledge that Solano County Democratic Central Committee of the Democratic Party sits on the land of the Miwok and Pawan people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray in their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and to the Miwok and Pawan people of the past and present.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
We'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a flag. All together, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it
stands, one nation,
under
Under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, someday.
Thank you. And Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do. Thanks.
Thank you. So we're going to approve the agenda. Did everyone have a chance to look at the agenda? Let me make a couple of changes because we are having candidate introductions. We have Malia Cohn, the candidate for controller, Jennifer Barton, candidate for supervisor, Sally Lieber, candidate for State Board of Equalization, and Ricardo Lara, insurance commissioner. So, some of those.
Play the agenda for a minute, please.
Yeah.
And one other change to the agenda on the new business, the best practices resource for Michelle Pellegrin will do next month instead of this month. Item C.
All right.
Or drop it in the chat. Either way is great. Thanks, Tom. If you could roll
Are
it.
we ready to vote?
Is there, yeah.
Can you roll it up?
Rolling. I assume you don't want, the reports are all the same.
Okay, thank you.
And that's the new business.
So do we have a poll to approve the agenda?
Do we have a motion and a second? I didn't see one.
Approval of the agenda.
I second to Tiffany.
Who made the motion?
I think it was
Don
Dawn.
Lowry.
Okay.
So did everyone vote? The poll completed?
We have 19 of 20 and 1 of 20 abstaining. So we'll go ahead and end it. Yeah, pass this.
Okay. And we'll go on to the minutes from October 27th. You know, actually our dates are off on there.
Right, the minutes are
Notice
January
our
26th.
dates are both off. Our January 26th is our minutes and today's February the 23rd.
Right, I put that on the agenda. That's corrected on the agenda that went out.
Oh, okay. I must have copied an earlier one. Thanks.
Do you have a motion? and a
Approval
second?
of the January 26 minutes.
Don Lowry, second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. We have a poll. There we go.
Monica, I saw your comment in the chat. Was that for the minutes or what was that for?
There's somebody who's going to be speaking on it, and I just wanted to indicate that I also was there. I did not see that Penrose was removed from the agenda.
He's not.
Well, that's why I just wrote it in.
Okay, no, it's just the one report.
And I just wanted everybody to know that I was there and spoke.
Got it.
Okay, it's been minute 30. Minutes pass.
So the minutes have been approved. So we can move on to our candidate introductions.
Madam Chair, how much time does each candidate have to speak tonight?
We were giving our candidates 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, will there be Q&A after? And if so, how much
Been
time?
allowing 2 minutes for Q&A.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, and I think our first speaker is going to be Jennifer Barton, supervisor. She's here. And Ricardo Lara is here. I just got a message about that.
Madam Chair, this is Kelly. Malia is not on. She's been messaging me. If she doesn't jump on, I'd like to ask to speak on her behalf.
I guess we could do that. She had asked me if she could just speak when she got here.
Okay, hopefully she gets here.
Yeah. I think she might get here by the time.
So Jennifer, when you begin speaking is when I don't start the time till after you first start talking, okay?
Super, just waiting for when we're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm Jennifer Barton, candidate for the Solano County Board of Supervisors, District 3. And before I introduce myself, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for your service, excuse me, for your service on the Central Committee. It's been at least 15 years, if not more, since I served on the Central Committee. And I know the time that it takes from your family. I know the time it takes to serve. And I do remember we also had a lot of fun, which I missed. I enjoyed my time as an officer on the Central Committee. I enjoyed my time as headquarters chair or co-chair once or twice, a couple different headquarters. And I think I chaired 2, if not 3 crab feeds. And I do love those crab feeds. I'll be so glad when we can get back to those. So thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. I do know how much work it takes to do this. So thank you for your time. I am so excited to be running for supervisor, and I'm bringing to the position everything that I've learned in the last 25 plus years about our cities, the county, the Bay Area region, and also from our federal government. I bring the regional experience and the relationships that I have built over those years, from the local to the federal level, can only bring back to Solano County, can only be a benefit to Solano County. And I can't wait to work on some of those issues. I'd like to keep working on those challenges of mobility that we have around transportation and infrastructure. Certainly our homelessness challenges. And when we talk about homelessness, we have to talk about mental health and housing, and also supporting Solano's agricultural sustainability. That's one of my big loves. And Monica Brown, you have Suisun Valley, and I'm very jealous of that because I just love Suisun Valley and I call it my backyard. It's beautiful. So I was lucky enough to work for 5 Democratic elected officials during my public service career. I worked on mental health issues with Helen Thompson, Delta and water issues with Lois Wolk, transportation and infrastructure issues with Congresswoman Tauscher and Assemblymember Frazier. And for a hot minute, as I did Mr. Garamindi's transition from the state to Congress, working on the big state issues to take to the federal level. And certainly while I was at BART, I learned not only how to work on crisis management mode, but also how to work with those regional bodies like the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and then certainly helping bring dollars back and working with STA on transportation issues. So I was also blessed to have been appointed as a Solano County Planning Commissioner, which gave me a great grounding and training in land use issues. And of course, that's never going to end for us here in Solano County, those concerns. And currently I serve on the Solano County First 5 Commission with Supervisor Hannigan. And that commission is doing amazing things for our 0 to 5 population, their families, and their caregivers. And I would just love to be able to work from a supervisor's position on those issues.
Jennifer, that is
Guessing that's a timing. Thank you so much for your time and allowing me to reintroduce myself, I hope, to many of you here tonight.
Now we have 2 minutes for Q&A, if there are any questions.
And vice chairs, could you call on the members who raise their hands?
Yes, absolutely. We have hands from. Okay. I will start with, I saw Dr. Hamilton's hand go up first, and then Steve Quinlan, and then Kathy, and then Thomas Bilbo, in that order.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you doing? Good to see you
this evening. My question is around, well, there's actually 2. One is around the climate crisis. And what do you see your role on the Board of Supervisors in reversing the situation we have with climate? And my second one would be around the sheriffs and some social justice issues. So how do you see yourself interfacing with our sheriff? Thank you.
With our sheriff, I certainly think that there's a conversation that needs to be had around the social justice issues, and I would be happy to help work on that dialogue moving forward and looking at what are concerns that we have in this county and how we might work to make sure that everyone is treated fairly and is treated to the best possible way that we can be treated. It is a separately elected position, of course, so I'm more than happy to work with my other supervisors on that issue to see what we can do to help with that. For climate, certainly working with the state on those issues, we can lobby, we can bring our best conversation forward, we can work on electric charging stations as we can bring them up to speed and put them in the county so that we can work on those issues. When I was on the planning commission, we put a lot of wind turbines up in the hills so that we can have alternative energy, and just keep working on those issues as much as we can from a local as well as a state level. Thank you, Bonnie.
Madam Chair, we only have 18 seconds left. Do you want to take a second question?
I'll come back for your endorsement process, and or if you would like to call me, I can put my phone number in the chat and people can call me directly. I would be happy to talk to anybody who has additional questions.
That's a great idea. So those people that were not able to get their questions answered, Jennifer's going to put her information in the chat. So our next candidate, Madam Chair.
Next candidate is Sally Lieber, State of Equalization.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. And I want to really echo everything that the previous speaker said about thank you for serving on Central Committee. It's really vital to our party. And you are really the backbone of the Democratic Party. So thank you for being in these positions. And I'm running for State Board of Equalization. And this is the board that oversees the county assessors in gathering in property taxes. It also determines the level of the alcohol beverage tax and the taxes on the lands of the investor-owned utilities and private railroads, as well as administering some other tax programs. It is, in that sense, a little bit of a dry, wonky type of a position, but I know that it's also a position that can have a lot of progressive action done from it. And I served in the state assembly for 3 terms. I came from local government, served in the assembly, and then returned to local government. And while I was in the state assembly, I don't know if it was just my bad luck or I caught the downdraft or what it was, but I came into office facing a $29.5 billion shortfall in our state budget, and had to help to work our way out of that. I served as Speaker Pro Tem of the Assembly, so I was really on the front lines with all of those budget conversations. And it taught me a lot about the things that you have to do when money goes away and how to lay the groundwork beforehand so that you don't get in that position. So this is a big district for the Board of Equalization. It runs from the Oregon border all the way down to the Ventura County line along the coast. And it takes in all of the Bay Area as well. So it's about 10 million constituents, about 6 million registered voters. And this is going to be one of the offices that is going to be voted on at convention for endorsement. So I'd really like to ask for your vote for that endorsement. And if you're not a delegate, if you're not going to convention, if you can spread the word and just say, you know, I met Sally, we had her in, she seemed like a pretty good candidate to me. That would be really helpful. And if you just say, Sally, I'm the only one at convention whose name's Sally. So that's a good way to remember it. And I would like to come back as things proceed. There's going to be a June primary election and then, of course, the November general. And so I definitely will not be a stranger to Solano County, and we'll look forward to talking with you more. I put my my email and my cell phone in the chat.
Right, that was time. You have 2 minutes of Q&A now.
Thank you.
Vice chairs.
Kathy, you're recognized.
We didn't hear you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Is there anything that the people on the State Board of Equalization can do to fight climate change? And if so, what is that and what would you do?
Yeah, I think that there really is. And it's my opinion that every state agency should be pushing in, or should be pitching in and doing everything that's in our power. You know, one of the things, as I mentioned, setting the property tax rates for the investor-owned utilities. PG&E has had a lot of challenges. They've been identified as criminally negligent in their practices. And I think that there's a role for every state agency that touches the business of the investor-owned utilities to really push climate. We know that we only have about 7 to 8 more years to really make a dent in the climate situation. So that's something that's a high priority for me. And it was something that I did a lot of work on in the state assembly and since leaving the assembly as well. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on what happens in terms of solar power in our state. There's recently been some challenges to that, but I consider myself to be a climate activist. So I'm going to be looking for entree to that in our investments as a state. And the jurisdiction of the BOE is limited, but the bully pulpit that it affords to you as an office holder is not. And so I'll be using that to the greatest extent possible.
Madam Chair, she has 8 seconds left, so I think we should go to the next speaker. Thank you, Sally.
Okay, thank you, Sally.
Well, thank you. And please drop me a line at any time. I've got my contact info in the chat and I'd love to chat further with you. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to Ricardo Lara. He's in a little bit of a hurry, but he made it to our meeting. So we'd like to get to him.
So Ricardo, you have 3 minutes and then 2 minutes of Q&A. Whenever you're ready. Is he on mute?
I don't see him in the chat anymore. Amanda.
I saw him. He's here earlier.
I think he got kicked off.
Is Trevor Rogers still here?
Yes.
Yes.
Trevor, do you want to say a few words? And Trevor?
He's on mute too.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've asked him to unmute.
Hi, I'm here.
Oh.
Leah Cohen. I mean, I don't mind stepping in let's keep this engine going.
I just got a message that you were here. Oh, okay. I also had a message that Ricardo Lara was in a hurry, but maybe he left. Well, so would you like to speak? Welcome.
Yes, I want to speak. Hello to my people. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Malia. Just before you start, you get 3 minutes and then 2 minutes of Q&A, okay?
Thank you for the rules. I appreciate that.
No worries. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. 3 minutes. It's really good to be with you in Solano County via this Zoom. It's been a long time since I've seen many of you. I am coming to ask for your support. I'm running for state controller. Like many of you have heard, I represent you on the Board of Equalization. I'm so glad to hear Sally Lieber continuing and pushing and talking about the importance of the Board of Equalization. As a candidate, I want you to know how important it is that the controller have certain values that I believe that we already share. Caring about the environment, a commitment to seeing affordable housing being built, and just an overall commitment to government accountability. We must make sure that the budgets that the legislature is passing, and even the money that the governor passes, all are subject to being audited by the state controller. It's a pretty powerful, influential position. California tax dollars, we want to make sure that they're working for everyone. I don't want to be seeing tax dollars going to hurt or wound anyone. Most importantly, we deserve to know where and when and how much tax dollars are being spent. For example, how much are law enforcement agencies getting? This is a very important question. You don't see very many audits of law enforcement agencies. I'm just going to put that out there for all you police reform folks that are on this call. And so a few years ago, when I was serving on as president of the Board of Supervisors, it really became very clear that legislation isn't just the only tool that we can use to fight injustice. I kind of hear this all the time. That legislation is the only tool. And I'm going to push back and I'm going to say there are two additional tools, and that's a budget and that's an audit. And these are the tools that the controller, that she yields. She can promote positive change by shining light into taxpayer money and spending. So I am endorsed by Betty Yee. I'm endorsed by the nurses. God bless you. And SEIU, as well as many party leaders like yourself. And I want to make sure, I'm running to make sure that tax laws are working for everyone. I hope to be able to represent you every single day and every space that I step in. I'm happy to answer whatever questions that you may have.
Okay, so you have, I'm going to give you 2 minutes and 52 seconds because that's how much time you had left over. Okay.
I'd love to answer a few questions.
Yes.
In my 2 minutes.
Yes, you get. Go ahead.
The vice chairs will call on the members.
Don't see any hands raised at this time.
Okay, well, I'll just keep talking then. Thank you very much. Well,
oh, now there's one. Okay.
Kathy,
oh, now they're up.
Okay, hi, Kathy.
Your hands are moving slowly. So the first hand I saw go up was Pat Tote-Smith.
Pat, yes.
Okay.
Kathy, and then Don Lowry, if we time in that order.
Yeah, hi, thanks for coming to the meeting. I have a question. What are some of your priorities? Is water and climate change one of your priorities? And can you tell me about that?
Oh, sure. So Pat is asking a question about water and climate change. And the answer is very simply yes. I'm an environmentalist. I've done a lot of work on restoring wetlands here in the San Francisco area, inside city, shutting down a power plant. But the controller sits on the State Lands Commission. I don't know if you guys realize that, but she is also an environmentalist. She actually chairs this body. And it's important to ensure that we've got well, Pat, I don't have time to get into all the water politics for the state of California, but I am in favor and pro-environmentalist in supporting the environment. The controller, you asked also about what I'm going to be doing. In the office itself, I like to modernize the practices, the business practices. I would like to bring certain elements of the controller's office into the 21st century. I'd like to see a translate button to make sure that all the information that has to do with these audits and figures are in multiple language, which is accessible to every Californian. And also want to look into the dysfunction that happened when EDD imploded and prevented a lot of people from getting their checks. So that is something I'd like to do immediately. Create a strike team to go in there and with expert skill set, begin to deduce where and why and how that EDD imploded. Kathy?
What, or was it Kathy?
We have time for another question?
Yeah, you have 1 minute and 11 seconds.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Hi, I don't know. Do you have any jurisdiction to oversee how money from the cap and trade program is being spent, and if it's actually being spent in an effective manner?
I don't know the answer to that, Kathy. Can I get back to you?
Yes.
I'll find you through the chair. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
She's
So in
still, she has 50 seconds.
Well, I was just going to say in closing, I hope that you will join this this campaign. We've got the Legislative Women's Caucus. We've got 15 out of 18 regional directors. We've got over half of the party leadership, over half of the caucus chairs are endorsing. And I hope that you will cast your vote for me. I have the most experience from a statewide perspective than any candidate in this race, as well as the significant number of endorsers that are supporting me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for coming. We'll look for you at the convention. Okay, well, is Ricardo Lara back or?
Yes, he's on.
I'm here.
All right. Oh, good. All right.
Margie.
Hi,
Well,
Bart.
welcome. Let's, yeah.
Hi, Ricardo. This is your favorite regional director, Lynette Henley. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, Lynette. How are
Hi,
you?
and 2 minutes of Q&A after your 3 minutes, okay?
Quick, I'll be quick. Thank you so much, everyone. Good evening. I'm proudly here before you as today as California's first ever LGBTQ statewide elected official in California's history. And I'm also the first Latino insurance commissioner. And we know as Democrats, we know that representation matters and our leaders must come from our diverse communities. I'm proud to have the endorsement of our California firefighters who I've been working with on combating these tremendous wildfires, our California Nurses Association, SEIU, California Teachers Association, Planned Parenthood, among many others. I want to just tell you quickly what I've done for you as your insurance commissioner. I've taken on the insurance industry, resulting in over $2 billion directly back to consumers' pockets. I was the first insurance commissioner in the country to order insurance companies to provide premium reliefs for our drivers and our small businesses, especially those mom and pop restaurants that were suffering during the pandemic. I created the first ever climate insurance working group made up of environmental leaders from around the country to work with me on wildfire threats, sea level rise, and extreme heat. I've protected more than 2.4 million policyholders from being dropped by their homeowners insurance companies after the wildfires. And I just created a Safer from Wildfire Insurance Framework, which is the first time we're going to be mandated that insurance companies actually give people discounts for mitigating their homes, their businesses, and their communities. And I know it's stalled in the assembly, but I remain committed to single-payer healthcare. As you know, I proudly authored SB 562, my single-payer bill, back when I was in the Senate. We successfully got a vote and got it out of the Senate during my time. And I'm proud to have authored Health for All Kids, extending healthcare to our immigrant children. Today, more than 100,000 undocumented children across the state have healthcare. And so I'm going to keep fighting. We know healthcare is a right and not a privilege. So I would appreciate your support again for my re-election. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Okay, so you only used 2 minutes, so you have now 3 minutes for Q&A.
So vice chairs, you can call on the membership.
Carrie Birdseye's hand is up.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us this evening. What's your biggest challenge moving forward if you're reelected?
The biggest challenge that's going to continue to really elude all of us is this issue of climate change. And how do we keep using these financial instruments like insurance to protect us against climate change? One of the amazing things that I'm doing, I'm working with the United Nations on a sustainable insurance roadmap that is going to give us really solid recommendations on how not only do we look at having insurance companies divest from fossil fuels, but also what do we want them to invest in? What are the clean technologies that we want them to do? And so these are things that I've been working with the UN. We're going to almost finish that report. And then the other thing is this issue of sea level rise. For our coastal communities, this is going to be critical. So I'm working on creating these different financial tools so that communities, cities, local special districts can come together, come up with an insurance policy to protect our coastal marshes and our wetlands and restore those, because guess what? That is what Mother Nature puts already to help us protect us from sea level rise and extreme storms. When Hurricane Sandy happened, it actually protected close to $26 million worth of damages to be able to have, because they restored their coastal wetlands. So that's exactly what I want to do and get that done, and then finish my term and say we created a climate insurance market here in California.
Okay, I have another hand. Do we have time,
Yeah, you
Lynette?
have a minute and 20 seconds.
Susan George.
Where'd she go?
I had to unmute, sorry.
Oh.
It's so great that you're here. Thank you so much. Now, continuing on the subject of climate and divestment and investment, California is very poor in terms of its water infrastructure. Our record is horrific.
Susan, I'm going to ask you to get to your question.
Well, that was a prelude to it. Thank you very much, Lynette.
You
So
only have a minute.
obviously, thank you, Lynette. Thank you. Just let me speak. Thank you. So in comparison to other countries, to other places, we do so poorly. What will you do particularly to improve our water infrastructure?
So the first thing we need to look at is investing in not only the natural infrastructure, which is the natural ecosystems that provide some of these clean water sources, but also one of the unique things that we've been working with in the department within the climate and sustainability division that I created for the first time ever within the department is how do we give cities, because we know this is expensive. We know infrastructure is expensive. And then the kind of infrastructure that we want is not the grayscale that is unsightly and it's anti-environment. But so what the idea would be is how do we create these multi-financing schemes within an insurance department, an insurance company to offer this as a product, so it diversifies the risk for the city, for the local special district or the county government, because it'll also behoove the insurance companies to invest in these treatments, because they're not going to want to pay out claims once there's a massive water leak or contamination or spill.
Right.
So those are kind of unique things that we've been working on that we will be unveiling when I went in my second half of the term, because again, with the UN roadmap, by the way, it's just California and Egypt doing this out of all places. And so I'm proud to be leading this effort. And I'm also chairing our climate and sustainability committee at the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. So California has a voice nationally as well.
Time. All right.
Thank you, Lynette.
Thank you. And you put your information in the chat, or you can have.
Yes, I'll have Steph do that.
Good
night, everyone.
Continue working with you.
Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we're moving to public comment. And I heard that,
Margie?
yes.
Okay.
We're going to move to public comment.
And we're starting public comment at 7:39. We have 30 minutes, correct?
That's correct.
And they get 2 minutes to speak?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I was notified Cheryl Sadith would like to make a public comment. Is she here? Cheryl?
I don't see her.
Yeah, I don't see her in the chat or in the list.
All right. Was there anyone else that wanted to make a public comment? This is for people who are not on the Central Committee. I don't see anyone. So Lynette, I think we can close the public comment.
At 7:40.
Okay, thank you. And now it's time for announcements from our membership. So if you have an announcement that you'd like the rest of the Central Committee to know about, you could put your hand up and the vice chairs will recognize you.
Can I see Dr. Bonnie Hamilton's hand?
Bonnie.
Paula Bauer and Kelly Walsh and Kathy Carriage. Those in that order.
Okay, we'll start with Bonnie. I'll let you remember the order.
Hi, everyone. I just want to let people know that the Solano Climate Policy Action Team meets by Zoom monthly on the fourth Monday of the month at 7 p.m. We're open to anyone who's interested in taking local climate action. Our next meeting will be this coming Monday. We will have a representative from MCE, Marin Clean Energy, speaking to us about community choice energy, which is being onboarded in Fairfield. It is already active in Vallejo and Benicia and the unincorporated areas of the county. There are many other cities in the county who have not onboarded to a community choice energy. And if you're interested, I'll put my contact information in the chat. But again, anyone who's interested, we also send out upcoming climate events notifications as well. Thank you very much for your time and nice to see everyone.
Thank you. Paula Bauer.
Hi, all. I just want you to mark on your calendars, save the date, June 26th. It's a Sunday, 2 to 4. United Dems is hosting a going away party for Congressman Thompson and a coming home party for Garamendi. So we're going to invite the entire county, all the clubs, because you're either going to get Thompson and lose Garamendi or get Garamendi and lose Thompson. And it will be a joyous event that I don't yet know exactly where it's going to be, but somewhere here in Vallejo. But I have confirmation from both Congress members, June 26th, 2 to 4. Thanks.
Thank you. Kelly Welch.
Hi, everybody. I just have two announcements and I'll try to keep it short. One is I just wanted to speak about Malia Cohen's candidacy for controller. And I just wanted to let you know that I served on the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee with Malia when she was on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And she's an amazing woman. I support her wholeheartedly. She's also the current president of the San Francisco Police Commission. And while we were on the Central Committee together, we did a lot of work on police accountability issues. So in addition to her knowledge about, the property tax system and, holding giants like PG&E and Amazon accountable as this chair of the State Board of Equalization right now, she's just the most intelligent woman I know, and strong and experienced, and she's a progressive woman of color. And I just want to emphasize how great Malia is. So I'd hope you consider endorsing her campaign. And then my next announcement is that I have a guest here, Dave Mccallum. He is going to be my new alternate for the Central Committee. I don't know, Dave, if you can hear me, if you want to introduce yourself, but
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Dave's a wonderful.
Yeah, I apologize for my.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize. There's a little bit of a delay here. I live out in the country, and so that's why you're not seeing my face, because the camera pixelates me anyway, and the audio delays me. So I'm always stepping on people, which is why I don't say much. I usually reserve my comments for the chat. But I just want to say, Kelly, thank you very much for choosing me as your alternate, and I hope to do you proud. Thank you.
Is that it, Kelly? Are you
Yeah,
done?
that's it. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay. Kathy Courage.
Hi, I just want to let everybody know that the Bay Area Air Quality Management District is having a special community meeting in Benicia tomorrow to talk about major air pollution violations that Valero committed. That's going to be at 6 o'clock, and you could go onto the Air Board website to get the link for that for that meeting. And the Benicia City Council will be having another meeting March 1st about it. And then the abatement hearing is March 15th at the Air Board. And on a positive note, I work with a group called Benicia Community Air Monitoring Program. We will be opening a community air monitoring station in Benicia. It's up and running now. We're going to have a webinar all about it on March 3rd. So if you want information about that, just email me, but this will be probably the closest community air monitoring station for a lot of people in Solano County. That it's going to be very comprehensive. It'll be one of the best in the country.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Wanda Williams.
Thank you, Vice President. Hi, everyone. Wanda Williams. I want to share with you, I am actually hosting in Suisun City a forum called The Future of the Black Community in honor of Black History Month, Saturday, February 26th from 1 to 2:30 at the Suisun City Library. It's going to be a great forum with a discussion with Q&A at the end. Our panelists includes Tamari Richardson, President of Black Chamber of Commerce, Cheryl Johnson, Vice President of the National Council of Negro Women, Deborah Dixon, President of Bulwaka, and Aubrey Matthews, which is from the Lee Archer Tuskegee Airman Historian, and a UC Davis scholar, Alani Sessions. So please come out and join in with that discussion. And just also a friendly reminder, I am running for Solano County Supervisor, District 3, and I'm running for 3 main concerns of mine. A safer for all community, which focuses on our homelessness situation, affordable housing, and workforce housing, at prosperity for all. And that is looking at bringing better paying jobs into our county, supporting our workforce development, and greener for all in Solano County. And that's focusing on our climate change affecting our county right now, as well as, but thank you so much for this opportunity to speak, and hope to see you this Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Suisun City Library. Thank you all.
Lee Jones.
Good evening, everyone. I'm making this announcement on behalf of Lori Wilson. So also on this Saturday, February 26th from 5 to 7, she is hosting a Black History Month celebration honoring the first African-American woman city council member in the Solano County area. It's going to be at the Marina Lounge, 700 Main Street. I will go ahead and drop in the chat the information for the link so that we could send that out. And we're also going to have voter registration sponsored by the Solano County chapter of the Links Incorporated. So for those of you that are interested in joining us on this Saturday, please do so by registering with the link and all that. And I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat in just a second. And that concludes my announcements.
Madam Chair, that's all I see, and hands being raised for announcements.
Thank you, everyone. So we are going to move to our reports and our executive board and chair's report. I want to give a big thanks to everyone that is serving on a committee for the Central Committee and everyone who has stepped up to chair those committees. I know it's a lot of work and I know it's hard for everyone to get to everything, and I wanted you to know that I really appreciate it. The club coordination handbook has been sent to everyone and it's going to be on the website, so that will make it easier for new clubs. And I want to remind you that we are the Democrats, you are Democratic leaders. So if you hear someone complaining about Democrats, that's our responsibility to try and step up and change that. So, and I'm very proud of all of you for being on the Central Committee to do that. Okay, that's my report. Are there any other officers' reports?
Madam Chair, I'd like to speak to my report that I sent out.
Okay, yes, we got a report from the information officer.
I'll just share it real quick so I can go through with everyone. Of course, we're getting into the election season. And so as part of what I do is I pull the voter information and stuff for the county for people to see and for us to use as a central committee. And also we supply this information to the endorsed candidates. I want to just go over a few quick numbers. So as of February 7th, we have 118,333 active voters in the county. Of that, 11,236 are considered new, and that means they registered to vote since the 2020 general election. And of non-actives, we have 132,880 voters. That means they have not voted in the past 3 or 4 elections. So that is where that's how we're figuring those numbers. I wanted to call out and give us a chance to cheer for the Democratic Party. We actually have the largest number of voters in the county. There are 63,908 Democrats that are active. So that's the largest amount. There are 5,544 Democrats that are new that registered since the last election. So that is the most. Is there a question? No. Okay, let me move on. But we do also have the most non-active voters. So one of the things, the goals that we need to make as a central committee is to find a way to re-engage with these non-active voters. We do have all the details and how we can reach out to them. So I just wanted to, that has been sent out to you guys. In 2021, there was a total of 9,700 new voters added in Solano County. That's in total. So 2021 was a big year for adding new voters. That was also the year of the recall. So we added some 4,000 voters in the September timeframe to vote on the recall. So that is why I think we defeated the recall. Anyway, so that I just wanted to call that out, and also to let people know that we have this data available for our electeds and for the clubs. We can run it by district and by precinct down to the level, and we have email as well as mailing addresses. So anyway, that's all I wanted to call your attention to. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You got this via email, and that's that. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you. This is really good information. Any other executive board members who would like to give a report?
I want to wait. I guess you have me down twice.
Yeah, I have you.
So I'll wait till the new business. Okay.
Okay. And Lynette, would you like to say anything about Region 2?
Yeah, I just raised my hand. Thank you.
Oh.
Just a reminder, the convention is coming up. Hopefully everybody has registered, that time has passed. We will be voting on the endorsements, and I'd like to thank all of you that worked so hard to ensure that we had a quorum for our pre-endorsement and for the special election, as well as the endorsement for the regular June primary. Lori Wilson was endorsed in both of those caucuses, so she will be on the consent calendar I think we vote on Sunday at the convention. And just make sure that however you registered with the party, trying to get into the website, if you change your email, they don't know anything about it. So you need to make sure that they have your current email, or you won't get the information that you needed. And hopefully the meeting will go well. There have been some changes that happened on Sunday and from the Rules Committee, and that is mostly about, and I wasn't really about special meetings. And that if you want to have a special meeting that happens in between the convention or the e-board, there's a short window. It takes 100 signatures, which I thought was reasonable because that's a third of the executive board or the state party committees, voting body. And 100, if it's that special or that important, then you're going to get your 100 people to sign up. But my concern was there was no mechanism to deal with it if it didn't make those deadlines or whatever. And hopefully the officers and the Rules Committee are aware of that and will hopefully find a way to add those concerns to the agenda that is in the control of the chair and the officers to accommodate party members who have urgent or items that may or may not have gotten onto the agenda. And I think it's important that our regular grassroots people have an opportunity to have some say on that agenda. And then there's some changes to legislation, how it can be submitted. They're trying to move it. One of the rules that is coming forward at the convention is that at regional meetings, the regional caucus, so like when I have my meetings, if you have a piece of legislation that you wanted supported, you could get the region to support it and move it forward. They're trying to take that away. So I talked to one of the chairs, Margie Granado and AJ actually, and they said, well, if there's a person, I said, because that's the grassroots, are these regional meetings. They're not your regular people. Not that you're not regular people, but people that get involved at that level. And hopefully we can ensure that if they have legislation they want to move forward, that it does get heard. It hasn't changed anything with the resolutions though, so you can still bring those forward. That's about it that I'd like to say. So thank you, Margie, for the time. And thank you all again for your support. And this is exciting times in Solano County with the new AD. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lynette. Ex officio reports. So we have some written ex officio reports, and I'm going to say again, I really want everyone to be sure they read them. They're really interesting what's going on with our elected officials. And are there any elected officials who would like to speak tonight, or representatives? I know Erin was here. Maybe she wants to say something.
Yes. Hang on. Yes.
Video.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. And, you know, I do want to thank you all for the work that you do for the Central Committee. It's really important, and appreciate your time and commitment to this work. Just want to let you know, I serve on the implementation committee for Solano 360. We're in the process of negotiating a lease agreement with IRG, who's a major developer around the country for the property. So you will expect to see something soon coming out from both the city of Vallejo as well as Solano County as to what's proposed for that site, which I think you'll be very excited about. I think you've read in the paper about Highway 37. Senator Dodd just introduced a bill to create that as a toll road. There were articles in the paper just this week in regards to that bill specifically. I think the comments were absolutely correct. You know, there's really no way to build that kind of a structure that is going to be resilient to climate change, which has been a very hot topic today on this call, without having a toll mechanism, but also keeping in mind that most of the people that are probably traveling from east to west will sorry, somebody's in the chat, from east to west that, you know, are more than likely low income and traveling for a minimum wage job. And so we need to be cognizant of that and you know, include a mechanism for a reduced, if not free toll for folks in that situation. So other than that, I know coming up somewhere near this March is our equity subcommittee recommendation to put forward a essentially racial equity training. This is actually going to be trauma-informed care. I would love your support for that training to occur with all of the board members on the Board of Supervisors, as well as with our department heads. It's really important that we as a county operate through an equity lens and that we include everybody at the table. And we won't do that if we don't know what some of the challenges are and how we can help people get to the table. And so with that, I'll end. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you, Erin.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes, Monica Brown's hand is up.
Monica?
My bad. I thought I had muted myself. Pat, did you want to say anything since you're my rep, or are you cool for me to go ahead? So at the county building, we're working on starting the building for the mental health facility that'll house 16 folks, as well as, you know what, Tom, you do not have to have me shown. It's okay. I'm here relaxing, as well as the 16-bed board and care that is starting basically right now. So I have to go check it out. The normal thing that's going to happen is going to be the fight over where the rescue plan money goes. So I'll keep you guys informed. There'll be something that comes up this coming Tuesday. If you get my Friday newsletter, we keep you abreast. And just FYI, I was very proud of Solano County when we voted down Regional Measure 3, but alas, the money, the $1 billion that's going to build the BART station to San Jose is now going to be postponed till 2034, which means that it will be almost double in price. Whereas we could use that money if we could take and change Regional Measure 3 and use that money instead of having to put a toll road on Highway 37, and then we could build the infrastructure that we need right there. Or we could just not take the money from the train to nowhere and use those several $1 billion. But once again, to leave Solano County, you have to pay to get out. So anyway, so that's my 2 cents on it. So if you get my newsletter, keep reading, send info if you need it. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Tiffany, do you have an order of hands that are up?
Yep, Kelly Walsh is next.
Okay.
Hi again, everybody. I haven't given an update on the Vacaville Unified School District, things going on. So I just wanted to let folks know that similar to what happened at the SCOE meeting last week, and I know Corey's going to talk about that later, we've been dealing with the anti-maskers and anti-mandate folks for months and months and months now. They come and attack me at every meeting. They've served me with a notice of liability for illegally practicing medicine. They're really mad about the mandates, which haven't even happened yet. They refuse to wear masks in our building. We've had to have the police come and escort us out of one of our meetings. And it's actually really frustrating. So our next meeting is on March 10th, and I could use some voices of reason if you're in Vacaville. We also have Zoom meetings, but we're there in person as well. Besides all that craziness, we are doing great work with the equity task force we have set up in Vacaville. We just had a workshop on that, and I know John Fox is here. John Fox and I serve on the Solano County, what is it called? Education committee together. And we also put on an equity sessions for folks in Solano County. So that was really great. And on March 26th, we're having a board workshop for the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan. So if anyone in Vacaville is interested to that, we really need public input into the Local Control Accountability Plan and what Vacaville is going to be doing with all the funds that we have. So that's my quick update for Vacaville Unified School District. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Jeanette Wiley, please.
Thank you, and thank you. I actually had my hand up a while ago because I wanted to say that I heard from Jerry Castanon, who was still in Texas with his mom who needs help, but he said he was supposed to get a report first from Cecilia Aguiar Curry this week. So when he gets it, I will send it out. So that was my report from Cecilia Aguiar Curry. And then just as city council, it was great to take part Saturday in an event at Andrews Park to amplify our voices and honor Black history. So it was the second annual Black History Day a celebration in Vacaville, and we had like almost all the city council there and a lot of speakers, and basically honoring the young people who take an active role in trying to make a change for everyone. And there were youth speaking from Wilsey Wood and Vaca High, and it was a great afternoon in the park on Saturday. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
John Fox.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good evening, everybody. I have a few things to talk about the Vallejo City Unified School District. As has been mentioned, we're ending Black History Month this week. We did something that I think we've never done in the Vallejo City Unified School District. We sold 2 properties last week. So our Rollingwood property on Benicia Road in Rollingwood, which has been vacant for years, we have sold it. We're to KB Homes North Bay LLC. And then we sold another property, or the old Farragut School, that is going to be sold to Seneca. And Seneca is dealing with special education is private. So both of those are exciting that they'll be taken over, and the new buyers are very happy and excited of taking over those 2 areas in Vallejo. The KB Homes one will take about a year to go through all the permits and all the processing. The Seneca Special Ed School will probably take 4 to 6 months to transfer that property. My next in my report is, as Kelly talked about, the Solano County School Board Association. We just finished our second equity series with Nicole Anderson and Deborah Keys-Wright, and they were just wonderful. And this last one, we talked about closing the gaps with equity. And what does that mean to close the gaps as board members? The next series, how we're going to continue our series, is through student voice. And I'm very excited because that's where we need to hear where the gaps are, and for our students to answer questions and let superintendents, school board members, and other stakeholders hear our students' responses to those questions on equity or their lack of equity. So that's where we're going further. In our school board, Solano County School Board Association, Kelly and I will meet with the other representatives on Monday is our next meeting to talk about going further with this series. The last item that I do need you all to know about is the Solano County Office of Education. We know their last meeting was extremely heated, and the Vallejo City Unified School District we denied a petition from Caliber to promote to include up to high school within Vallejo. And the basic reason we can deny it is Vallejo is still under receivership, state receivership, and we have a loan. So that right there under the law gives us the right to deny any charter school coming into Vallejo. So this next month, actually, I think it's March, is it March 9th? The county office will be hearing Caliber's petition to try to override what the local level in Vallejo said no to them. So hopefully the county office will follow the law that any school district under state receivership can deny a charter school. So we're hoping that that will be successful, that they will be denied at that level as well, coming up at the county level. Then one more thing, I just want to comment on something Kelly brought up, the mask mandate. As educators, we still have to have the masks worn in education. And actually, like Monica will tell you, you'll lose funding if you don't mandate that. But also in many school districts, as you saw in Oakland, the teachers rise up, and the teachers also, there's a school district in the North Bay and in Oakland that they're demanding that people keep the mask mandate because the staff wants it, the teachers want that. So there's many things going out there where you have certain parents trying to uprise against students wearing a mask. The employees in the school district, some districts are rising up saying they won't come to work unless there's masks for safety, for them to work in those conditions. So it's a very heated debate, and this next month we'll hear what the state proposes on the mask mandate. And all of those items are my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Lynette Henley's hand is up.
Lynette?
Yes, I had two questions for you, John. One is, what is Vallejo going to do if the county chooses not to follow the law? Will you be filing a lawsuit against them?
Are you referring to the mask mandate?
No, I'm referring to them approving the charter schools request.
Yes, we will look into, yes, we would definitely look into that.
Okay, great. And then the second question for you is with regard to the sales of the two properties. That's great. We've been trying to sell that land, especially the Rollingwood piece, for a very long time. So hopefully that will go forward. But in that sale, was there any indication from the KB builders that they were going to have any low income or reasonably priced housing for people on that land that they're using? And not that, I don't know if that was a, requirement or request as you move forward.
All of the applicants that put in a bid had to fill out extensive paperwork. And for their paperwork, they have to show that they're going to go on to the next process. And the next process in this procedure is going on with the city and the planning department. And with the planning department, that is the part that they will be working with through the planning department. And then eventually the city council will have to approve that. So it first came to us with their bid, and then all the requirements to have a bid. One of the applicants was put out because they didn't fill out all the requirements. So KB Homes knows they are going to have to answer that question about how they're going to put pricing for all levels of people to be able to afford housing. And that will be addressed next at the planning committee in Vallejo, and then eventually approved, like I said, through city council. So it's going through the stages, Lynette. And right now we just accepted their bid. And then there's a backup bid if they pull out. But I also want to say something that's ironic is before the housing crash, KB Homes had a bid in before that. And when the housing crash happened, it all fell through. And yes, again, now we finally have it sold to them again, and they were the highest bidder. So it's kind of ironic how it went full circle. And I'm just hoping this year that it'll go through the process and that it'll actually go through this time to sale.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Trustee Fox, I have a quick question regarding the sale of the Farragut campus to Seneca. So you said it would be open 4 to 6 months. Would they take, and I don't know if you know this, answer this question, but would they be able to take priority with some of those students that I have on my caseload that absolutely could use that particular site, not only just because of the local location, but so that, we can get some momentum going with that. We have a long wait list. And so I'm just curious as to what that's looking like, if you're able to answer that question right now, and the outfitting of it, because I know that building really needs a lot of work in order to make it accessible for those particular special needs students.
Well, at the meeting, 2 representatives from Seneca were there, and they were very excited about moving forward. And we are excited too, because we will have a local place in Vallejo, in our own backyard, where students that do need a different placement won't have to travel far. Whereas now, like Tiffany just said, if you have a student with special needs that needs to be placed somewhere else, you have to have them transferred, or they have to travel far. Now we're going to have a place right here in Vallejo that they hopefully will make their needs met. So I'm very happy about that. I don't know how the process will work yet, but as it unfolds the next few months, and as I find out the details, I'll be glad to share those with you. I hope that somewhat answers your question.
I don't see any other hands on this topic, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, elected officials. We're moving on to club reports. We got a lot of club reports, written reports. Once again, I want everyone to read them. The clubs are doing amazing things and having really wonderful speakers and guests. Is there any club representative that would like to say a few words right now?
I have my hand up.
Sorry, Bill. Tom.
Either way, just don't call me late for supper. Just real quick, the Stonewall Democratic Club voted last week to have a endorsement meeting for the primary candidates, and we wanted to also invite and partner with other clubs in the Solano County area. For that, I've already reached out to the clubs for that are on the committee to do that, as well as to the chairs that I know of. So this will be so that we can have a single meeting, so we don't eat up a lot of time with candidates, so they can do more outreach into their constituency, and we can get a better leverage. We can run the text so that it's live streamed to our membership, and everyone can come in and see it. Plus, also it can be available for afterwards. But that's our report for now. Oh, we also had officer elections, and the current officers were still in place. I'm sorry, wait a minute. No, we have a new secretary. Joseph Hayden is our new secretary.
Thank you, Tom. Carrie?
Thank you so much. For the Progressive Democrats of Benicia, last month we met and we had a discussion about biofuels and the conversions that are happening in refineries throughout Refinery Row here. And we had a pretty good attendance and a pretty good discussion. Next month, on March 8th, we're meeting and we are discussing diversity in Benicia. We have invited Dr. Chambers, who is our DEI officer at the city of Benicia, plus Kashana Harper Lee, who is a representative from Benicia Black Lives Matter. And so I encourage anybody to join our discussion on March 8th at 7 p.m. If you want more information, please join us. Email me, or I can put a link in the chat. And Tom, just so you know, the steering committee wants of Progressive Dems wants to join in on the joint endorsement process for the primaries with Stonewall. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Cassandra?
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm reporting on behalf of the Sankofa Democratic Club, and I'm reporting that we did have our first meeting of the year, and we are going to be inviting women identified elected officials to kick off Women's History Month. That will be held on March 15th at 7 o'clock. We will send out more information once we confirm that elected official. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynette Henley, your hand's up.
Yes, I had a question for Carrie. Yeah, Bird's Eye. You mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned it last time or a couple of times ago, that you guys that the progressives may Benicia may be changing having a name change. Is that still in the works, or?
I don't think I ever mentioned that here in this forum, but there was a discussion about a name change and it was voted down. So we still are the Progressive Dems.
Okay,
we
great.
will not be looking to change our bylaws anytime soon over that matter. And I'm thinking that our bylaws are pretty steady right now. So not looking to bring anything to this body soon.
Okay, great. Thanks, Carrie.
Matthew Finkelstein.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to give a report on our club's activities. This was, I believe, our first meeting of the year, and we were visited and graced by the presence of Congressman John Garamendi. We had a great conversation where we engaged on issues across the spectrum that focused on climate change, on the proliferation of hate groups and extremism in Solano County, particularly of the kind that focus and target Democrats in Sacramento. I'm speaking, of course, of the 3%ers. An item that was of particular interest during our conversation, beyond that, was water and the state's infrastructure around water. There was a resolution that our club was honored to sponsor in the California Democratic Party that aims to foster cooperation between Israel and California. The resolution has gone before leaders of the Knesset in Israel, as well as state leaders across California. And we are on track to take that resolution to the next level and ensure that it becomes enshrined in action. Finally, I just wanted to say that we are going to need some help this year with our endorsement process. So Tom, if you could please send me a little something about that. We're just really busy and it'd be really great to do that jointly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Chair, it's back in your hands and look like Europe is going to war, or is in war. Something's going on in the chat room.
Oh, gosh. Well, we'll carry on with our meeting. Is there any state e-board report from Paula or Monica?
I can just give a quick report. Somebody already talked about the rules change on special meetings, which pretty much eliminates the ability to call them. The other rule change is on legislation, the CDP Legislative Committee. So going forward for at least the next couple of years, only central committees, bill authors, a few individuals like Rusty and the Speaker of the House will be able to send legislation to the committee that they're seeking to get sponsored. And the number is going to be really limited. This year, Solano County Central Committee can send 3 pieces of legislation. Next year, we'll only be able to send 2 because we'll all be in, all of Solano County will be in 1 assembly district. That's a huge rule change. And that's about all that was done at the e-board on Sunday.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to committee reports.
I said I have one more thing to add, if it's okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Given that Putin has just launched a full-scale invasion into the Ukraine, I would like it if we could take a moment of silence to reconcile ourselves as leaders and Democrats to the coming trouble that our country is going to be facing, to our commitment to supporting democratic leadership during these turbulent times, and our commitment to sound off in solidarity with our president and to move our country towards greater allyship and solidarity.
So
we'll do that at the end of our meeting. We'll close with that because it's just, you're right, Matthew. We're still getting stuff's coming through. So let's hold it to the end so we can.
Point of order.
Whoever point of order is out of order.
No, it's not. A point of order is never out of order.
So you're out of order because you haven't been recognized by the chair.
You are wrong.
You are wrong.
Point of order is never out of order.
Okay, let's call the meeting back to order.
So
I have a point of order.
We can do that at the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whoever keeps yelling out, the point of order has to be recognized. This is your parliamentary. Go look it up in Roberts by the chair. So you can yell it all you want.
As soon as someone says point of order, the talk is supposed to stop
No,
to
it's
give the
not.
chair.
No,
Yes,
it's
it
not.
is.
No, it's
Yes,
not.
it
Go read
is. You're
Roberts.
absolutely
Go
wrong.
read, go read Roberts and you'll figure it out.
No, that's your job.
You'll figure it out.
That's your job.
Ladies, we still have a meeting to conduct.
Yeah, well, we
Madam
want
That's fair.
to carry on with our meeting. And
Excuse me, Margie, I did say point of order. That means I need to be
Or would you
recognized.
like to?
all right, Michelle, what would you like to say?
What is the point of order she's pointing out?
Okay, first of all, Lynette Henley is not supposed to be speaking or running this meeting.
I'm not running the
Not
meeting.
up to her.
Point of
I
order.
am talking now.
What is
I
the
am
point of
talking now. It's
order?
a point of
What is the
order.
point
You
of
are
order?
not talking.
What is the
This
point
is
of
this
order?
is
so I can-
absurd. She's supposed to be quiet while I am talking about my
Okay,
point of order.
let's hear what Michelle wants to say.
Thank you.
Get the point of order, please.
Lynette Henley keeps talking. She's a parliamentarian. She's not running this meeting. It's not up to her to say when, you know, whether or not we stop
We are
now.
not- I didn't
Pause.
get to hear
I
the-
am not done yet. This is up
Margie,
to the
we need to know
chair
the point of
to
order,
determine
please.
that. That
There's
is my
been no
point of
point that you
order.
brought forward so far.
And the other point of order, Lynette, is you are not supposed to interrupt people like this.
Point of order has to refer to a point that is not being dealt with. So can you give me your point of order as your parliamentarian? I'm trying to assist the chair so that I can ask her to rule on the point of order you're speaking to.
Okay, first of all, as a parliamentarian, you're not supposed to even do that. It's up to the chair. She has to
Chair
ask
has given
you, I
permission.
am still talking. She
You're
has to ask you if she wants your input. That is Robert's rules, period, and you know it. The other thing, all I'm saying very simply is that the point of order is that you do not decide what happens when someone brings something up about, you know, whatever it could be. At this point, at this time, it was Matthew recognizing that there's just been a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. That was not up to you. That was up to the chair. So you are completely out of order in pretty much everything you're doing. Every time you interrupt and take over the chair's running of the meeting.
Okay, well, I actually think that it's a good idea to leave it at the end of the meeting. That's what we often do with issues outside of our agenda. So can we go on with the meeting?
Madam Chair, Lynette Henley's hand is up.
Yeah. Lynette Henley.
Madam Chair, thank you. For those of you that are not aware, the chair has asked me to do what I'm doing as your parliamentarian. She is in full agreement of what I'm doing. So those of you that don't like it, you talk to your chair. I'm not doing anything other than what the chair has asked me, which is to help her follow the agenda, make sure that we're running the meeting according to Roberts. And when you ask for a point of order, you have to speak to the point of order that you're speaking to. Not that you don't like what I'm doing. You need to say whatever the point is. And I will provide you with a list of points for the future if you'd like to bring those forward. But what Michelle just did was totally out of order. I will provide that.
I really don't want us to go on and on about this right now. Let's go forward with the meeting and maybe we can discuss this later. We're going to put the Matthew suggestion at the end of the meeting, and we're going to move on to our committee reports. It's going to be a late night when we haven't got to new business, so we need to keep going on the agenda. So does anyone have, we've gotten some nice written reports. Thank you, committee chairs. And is there anyone that would like to make an oral report about their committee?
I see two hands up. Susan George.
Susan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did send in a written report that stands as is. However, we have a very exciting year for legislation, and I want to invite anyone on this committee that isn't already that would like to be on the legislation committee. It's particularly important now because clubs, our Democratic clubs no longer have a direct means to bring legislation to the state party. It will need to go through this central committee. And this year we have 3 pieces of legislation. So not only will we make recommendations to the Solano County Democratic Central Committee, but we will make recommendations through the Central Committee for the state party as well. It's a very important role, and I really look forward to people who want to participate in this. So a lot of people sign up, but then people don't come to the meetings, and I know we're all so busy, but if legislation is a priority of yours, please join us. And I will put my email in the chat and you can contact me. Thank you.
Lori, then Bridget.
Yes, the endorsement committee's report was submitted. However, I do require action to either approve or modify the questionnaire for candidates, and then to schedule the endorsement committee meeting for the primary election, which we have recommended for the March regular meeting, assuming that the executive board clears the agenda so that we have sufficient time for it.
Thank you. Bridget, do you have an action for us?
Actually, did you send a poll to the information officer?
Yes, we have a poll for it. Okay.
So the endorsement committee is asking for us to vote on the questionnaire.
Madam Chair, there's discussion.
Let's vote on that first.
You have to discussion. There's 2 hands up for discussion, Margie.
Bridget, Bridget, your hand was up.
Oh,
Your hand's up,
I'm
Lynette.
just saying I'll wait until we're done with Dawn's report to do my report. But
Okay.
I make a motion to support Dawn's report.
Okay. Lynette, are you on this topic?
Yes.
Your hands up. And Paula? Okay. In that order.
I had a question through the chair to Dawn. So you're asking us to approve the questions tonight. Was there a second piece of your report that in that request besides approving the questions?
Yes, we also need to schedule the endorsement meeting, whether it's going to be the regular meeting as we recommended or a special meeting.
Okay, so there's 2 questions actually. One to approve the questions. That's kind of sounds redundant in some ways. And then the second part of that is to ask that the March meeting be cleared to totally do the is it to interview the people and all of that, or just vote on the people?
The recommendation is to hold the endorsement meeting at the March meeting, which would be interviewing and balloting.
Okay, great. Thank you. So with that information, if I would like to divide the questions so that we vote on the questions first, and then the second piece to put our whole March meeting to do interviews and all of that. If I can get a second.
And I don't think he's requesting the whole meeting. For the primary, there's not a lot of candidates. So we can interview and vote.
I'll second the motion to approve the questions. This is Paula.
So are you asking to also divide it, Paula? To divide the recommendation?
Yes.
Okay.
So right now we're just talking about questions.
Okay, yes, I'm with Paula on that. Thank you.
And the questions went out to the body. So is there any discussion? I think Thomas has a poll.
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure we're clear. We're only voting to support the questions that were provided to us.
I think that's what's on the poll.
Okay, and not
That
the
was my understanding of what was on the poll.
So wait, are we having 2 questions on the poll, one for the questionnaire and one for the endorsement meeting at the March meeting?
Right.
They're separate, but on the same poll.
If you can make it two questions, yeah, on the same
Yeah.
poll.
Okay.
Well, if it's on the same poll, then do we need a motion to accept the endorsement meeting in March?
Well, let's see what the poll says.
So, hold on.
In case it's needed, this is Carrie. I will make a motion to have the March meeting include the endorsement process.
So I put,
I'll
I'll
second that.
so we have approve the questionnaire, and then the central committee will use the March 2022 meeting for the endorsement vote.
Who seconded Carrie's motion?
Kelly. Is that right? I'm assuming it is. Can you see the question at the poll?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to like be
Or
asking. it.
endorsement, interviews and voting.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we'll take the vote. Disappeared.
Got it.
Jeanette?
Okay, 4 seconds.
Yes, I just wanted to say this will be fine depending on how the vote goes, but we just need to get all the endorsement questionnaires back prior to, in plenty of time. So whenever the questionnaire is sent out to people, they need to be able to return it in plenty of time to have it then put back together and send our people before the meeting. And but the last time we did this, Tom did an excellent job getting everything put together. But it's a big process to do that because people need to see those. It's a lengthy questionnaire, and a lot of people can get pretty verbose with their answers because it's not just one question. It ask a question and then ask a question about that question. So it's a lot to fill out and a lot to read and listen to the person. So the timing just has to be adequate to let us see it in plenty of time before we have the interviews.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. So both motions pass.
Okay. So the endorsement committee will follow up with all of the things that Jeanette just said to make sure that we see the questionnaires in advance of the March meeting. Okay, and so other committee chairs, I know Bridget has a report.
I'm not sure who's recognizing hands. My hand is up.
You're recognized, Lynette.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. How many seats are we going to be looking at, and what seats are we going to be looking at the for the June primary that we as a Central Committee will be reviewing? Does anybody have an idea?
Well, supervisor,
Well, city councils.
Well,
No.
this is the June primary, so city council isn't until November. So
It would
it's,
only be the countywide seats. At this moment, we have Democratic candidates running in the 3rd Supervisorial District. We have a Democratic candidate running for district attorney. And I believe we have 2 incumbent Democrats who are currently uncontested running for offices. So even if all of them appear, we're still half a dozen. And if we manage our time wisely, we should be able to do it, assuming that we don't take until 8:30 to get to business.
Great. Thank you. I just want to follow up. So we're going to be looking at the supervisor's position and district attorney. Those are the 2 races. I mean, well, I know the supervisor's like 3 races, but is that what we're looking at?
It depends on whether we have Democratic candidates filing in the other races and whether those candidates choose to appear before us. I'm assuming at minimum, we will hear from the 3rd district supervisor and the DA candidate, since they have already appeared before the Central Committee seeking our support.
All right. Thank you for the clarification. I was just trying to find out what races we were having to look at for this next meeting that we're going to try to do this at. Thank you, Don and Margie.
Okay, Don, is your hand up for another issue before we go to Bridget and her report? Okay, Bridget, you're recognized for the
Hello,
chair.
everyone. Welcome, thank you. So I just wanted to say I've talked to Margie and we've scheduled our next meeting of the Resolutions Committee for Saturday, March 19th, starting at 6 p.m. And the first part will be going over some of the Resolutions 101 that we did at our earlier meeting that Margie was at, for people who couldn't make it to that. And then the second part will be talking about resolutions that we want to bring forward. So I'll send out information about that for everyone, but save the date for Saturday, March 19th at 6 p.m. And that'll be on Zoom, of course.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other committee reports?
And we're looking, Dawn and I are looking right now on the candidate training schedule. This isn't confirmed yet, but we're looking at the following Saturday, March 26th. And we'll get that information out to you as soon as possible.
Oh, good.
And that will also be on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Yes, yep, be sure to follow up so we can notify everyone. Any other committee reports?
I see no other hands up.
Okay, moving to new business. Well, the convention's coming up. I think maybe we've talked about that already. Everyone, I hope you've registered. If you want to go, it's on Zoom. They wanted to do it in person, but didn't work out. We have a follow-up on the Solano County Board of Education meeting. Corey Penrose.
Hello, everyone. My name is Corey Penrose. I'm traveling. Is my bandwidth okay? Can you guys hear me?
Right now.
Awesome. Thank you. I'd like to move that we add Solano County Board of Education to the endorsement slate for the March meeting. If someone could give me a second, I'd be happy to speak to my motion.
Okay.
We're not on the ballot till November.
Let me, let's get on the ballot. Give me a second. I'll explain why.
Secretary Henley, I'll second his motion.
Thank you. For those who haven't heard, I'm sure there'll be other folks who'll be jumping on this meeting. Well, first of all, I should probably give a bit of context. Solano County Board of Education is, generally speaking, one of the sleepiest races around. It doesn't attract a lot of attention and it doesn't attract a lot of activity. But here's why I'm bringing this before you. At the most recent County Board of Education meeting, it was put really simply like January 6th. Anti-mask advocates have charged that board and have put really simply targeted that board in the hopes that they can get folks who share our values, good Dems who share our beliefs, to look at that sea of hostility and just say to heck with it. You don't need to run. It's not going to be helpful. It's not going to be beneficial. We need to add these folks to the March slate for an early endorsement because they need our help. They need our support. I know there'll be other people who'll be speaking up, talking about how awful that meeting was and talking about the abominable behavior of the folks who showed up without masks and screamed at point blank range in the faces of people who work in education for the County Board of Ed. We need to come out with those folks, and we need to come out with them early, and we need to show these folks who are good Dems, who we have endorsed in the past, that we are there with them and we want to endorse them early. The hope, obviously, is, as is the case with any endorsement, is that we can drive people out of the field and that we can ensure that good Dems who share our values and who share our beliefs and who are friendly to educators and education will receive all support. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Monica Brown and Lynette Henley's hands are up.
Monica?
Okay, so Corey, let me see. You want us to have an early endorsement when the election is not to November, when 5 out of those 7 people voted for elite. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is correct.
Okay, so first off, I think it's way too early for an endorsement. And number 2, there is no way on God's green earth that I could vote and support anybody who voted for elite. So I will be a no vote, but in my contention for you would be that A, I don't know who's running, and this is in November of 2022. And 2, many of those, again, 5 out of 7 voted for elite. And we just heard from John Fox what is going on in Vallejo because of charter schools. So it's premature. I would ask that you withdraw the motion, but for those of you who don't believe it should be withdrawn, I think you guys need to have a better understanding of what goes on at SCOE. And yes, I was personally there. And I do feel sorry for my fellow person, Kelly, because Lord knows I've gotten that at the Board of Soups. So I get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynette Henley?
Lynette, your hands up.
Thank you. I wanted to second the motion so we could hear your rationale of why you wanted to have this early endorsement. And I would have to concur with Monica on this one. It is too early and we need to do some work with those people to realize that our endorsement's not automatic and that they need to show us in this next vote that they have if they really want Democrats to support Democrats. And so I think we should take the vote because the motion has been spoken to, that I will be voting no on this recommendation at this time. An early endorsement is not appropriate for the people that have not supported the Democratic platform by supporting charter schools in the way that they have.
Don?
Agreeing with what has been said previously, I would also note that according to the bylaws, which are posted on our website, an early endorsement would require, 1, we identify each office being considered, that we notify general recognized candidates, and that any early endorsement would require a 2/3 vote for it to pass. I'm much more comfortable expressing our support for our Democratic allies in some manner other than an early endorsement, but I do think an early endorsement is not only exceedingly difficult at this time, but it's something that I would oppose.
Okay, anyone else? Any other discussion?
I see no other hands up.
Okay, Corey, would you?
Oh, Michelle just raised her hand.
Thanks, Renelle. So I'm really glad that you brought this up, Corey, but I think there are other avenues that we could take even if we don't do this, which is to come up with a letter or a stronger reaction or something, but not let that school board meeting just go by without any reaction, because it was really, I mean, I'm surprised a lot of people aren't arrested. I'm just, it sounded horrible.
Kelly, your hands up.
Hi, I just wanted to recognize, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote on this, but I just wanted to say that what everything that Corey's saying, it makes sense. But really the main problem is Amy Sharp. And so we should maybe consider a letter from the Central Committee or something like that. But she is awful, and she was the one behind this whole mess at SCOE. And so I don't know if we can all send a letter to her or whatever folks want to do, but Amy Sharp was the instigator behind all of this. And as a school board member who's dealt with this for the past year, what I happened at SCOE, I was on the Zoom the whole time. All of those same people have been attacking me for the past year, and it's really frustrating. So I think as Dems, if we want to do something, we can, maybe at least at this time individually, or as a group, send a letter to Amy Sharp expressing our disgust in her actions.
I know Tiffany and Monica Brown's hands are two new hands up. So Tiffany.
Thank you. I agree with Dawn and the others that spoke around the early endorsement. I think it's a little too premature for us to go that route. I do support sending another letter, but more so to Amy Sharp, with outlining why we're upset. But I definitely want to speak to the issue, because I was on the call. I mean, it sounded like a mob, and then to find out that children, young people were spit on and attacked, and staff members were pushed and shoved, and a guest here tonight had her mask, taken off. She was assaulted, and so I think if we're going to do something, we need to speak and oppose that. Spitting on children, I under no circumstances will allow that to continue to happen. So if that's what we want to do as far as sending a letter, I think the letter needs to include or denounce that type of behavior, especially towards staff, young people, anybody who was there. So I would support a letter.
Thank you. Monica?
So Amy reminds me of the bullies that we had in middle school and high school, where you like to stir up the shit and have both sides fight while you watch it. I understand what you guys want to say with the letter, but I'm going to share with you, as her husband ran the campaign of one of the people running against me in 2020, that she relishes this. So I'm not sure you're going to get any kind of change in behavior with her. I think what would be better if that we divvied up and 3 or 4 of us attended every SCOE meeting and kept it amongst ourselves. But I'm going to share that I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, she works for Mitch Mashburn. So I think it might be better if you guys who were in District 5 kind of talk with Mitch and say, we understand she's an elected official and she has the right to do what she wants to do. However, instigating trouble is not probably what you want your office to be known. I'm just throwing it out. Remember, E stands for evidence. I would just do it verbally, but I don't think you're going to get any reaction. She will like that there's a letter coming from the Democrats. She is not a Democrat. This makes her happy to do this kind of stuff. So that's my take on her.
Jeanette?
I will second what Monica said, because I was there at the meeting. I watched Amy Sharp defy everyone, throw a fit. She was just awful, really. And when the recess was called and she was told she couldn't speak, she spoke anyway. And she would get that letter from the Democrats and she would be waving it in front of her people. Look what we got. We need to fight harder. We need to go. We need to go. We need to write a letter to the Democrats who supported her. We had a Democrat in the race, but there were people who were behind Amy Sharp, and people who were behind Amy Sharp need to know this is the kind of behavior that she did, and she needs to be out of office. But I do not think writing a letter to her is going to do anything to stop her from what she's doing, because she's going to do what she's going to do. Let her do what you, that's that poem from Sunday. You got to do what you got to do. And that's what she thinks she's got to do. And the people there were not reasonable. They would not listen to anything. He was crazy.
Thank you. Dr. Bonnie?
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in here because I was actually came up 2 votes short, 2 votes, because we went into a recall and I found an extra vote, but we stopped the recall for a number of reasons, not because we didn't think, anyway, I'm not going to go into that story, but what about recalling her? Why don't we do the Republican thing, and you're right. Her board members who are Democrats either endorsed her or didn't endorse me. I mean, there were a few that did endorse me. Ginger Dunn was one of them, but some of them were afraid or didn't. And there were a fair amount of Democrats who endorsed her. And she is being in a recall with her, she is a person with very, very bad behavior. And anyway, maybe we need to play the Republican game in this one.
Thank you. Don?
I was going to suggest that perhaps we write a letter to the chair of the Board of Education regarding the behavior that occurred at the meeting and express our disappointment and outrage about the physical assaults and other behavior, and ask them to provide better security, something along those lines, because I think Supervisor Brown is right. Amy Sharp would eat up that letter, would love it. But I think if we send it to the board and maybe make it an open letter condemning the violence, that's a better tactic than giving her raw meat to feed to her red cap wearing crowd.
Thank you. Michelle? Then Pat.
So I agree with what Dawn just said. But I think even if you don't change something, the fact that you've made a statement is important. So how we make that statement, as long as we don't give Amy Sharp fodder, I think that's a good idea to write a letter, because let's face it, this is a Board of Education, and it's completely unacceptable that a board member there behaves this way and introduces unscientific things. I mean, that's their whole thing, education. So it's really unacceptable, I think, to do nothing. But I think that we could do all of these things. Why just limit it to a letter? Are there other suggestions that were really, really good? Go to the meeting. I forget what Kelly Walsh suggested, but maybe if we make a list and just send it out, we can kind of ponder this a little bit more.
Thank you. Pat?
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just going to ask if they couldn't put their meetings on Zoom to prevent this kind of violent, behavior in the waiting room there. And I agree with what Don said, that is the major issue, that they're very unruly and it's not very safe there at that meeting. So I think a letter in that regard is good. And also, I don't know who we could talk to about urging them to go to just straight Zoom. Then you wouldn't have the circus in the waiting area. My thoughts.
We have 2 more hands up, Madam Chair. You want to acknowledge them? Bridget?
I just wanted to say this is an object lesson in the importance of supporting the Democrat in the race when there's a Democrat and a Republican, and you had Democrats that were not supporting the Democrat in the race. So I think that's an important object lesson for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you. Corey?
I'd like to, and hopefully the parliamentarian will give me a thumbs up on this. I'd like to modify my motion to change the date from March to June.
What did Parliamentarian Lynette?
I'm not going to second that. It looks like it's failed for lack of a second.
Then Monica's hand is up.
Okay, Monica?
I just was going to state that people don't even run for office for that until July. I think, to be honest with you, I think we've had a good enough discussion. I know I've already talked, so
For
I
the
won't call
question.
for the question, so that's my bad. But Corey, I think on this one, you're just going to have to wait. And even then, you're going to have to really convince me to endorse somebody who voted for a charter school. That's the antithesis of being a public school teacher. Yes, I am retired.
I'd like to call for the question, Madam Chair.
Second.
Do we have to vote on calling the question
Yes.
and discussion? I'd like a vote on, all in favor of calling the question,
Aye.
say aye, yeah.
Aye.
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 Uh,
Do we have a second?
Aye.
Yeah,
Yes.
there was.
Yes,
it was a
Lynette.
second.
It was Vernil and Lynette. Is there any opposition to calling the question?
Me, aye.
Who's that? Oh,
Corey.
Corey.
I don't think you won. So let's call the question. Let's vote on the proposal. And Corey, do you want to restate what it is that you were asking for?
I move that we add Solano County Board of Education to the March slate of endorsement interviews.
That was not what you said.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes, it was.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Lynette.
The secretary, write it down what the motion was.
Can you repeat that? So I can make sure the poll-
I'm looking for it, but that's what he said, basically. Corey said, Lynette, Corey seconded, add to the endorsement for March. That's what I have.
But,
Add the SCOE to the endorsement for March.
but to be clear, it would be an early endorsement.
Right,
That requires a 2/3 vote.
Right.
Okay.
But at that time, we didn't say that it was requiring 2/3 vote. We just, that his motion was to add it to that, an early endorsement to that. So now we'll vote on it, and if it's not 2/3, then it doesn't pass. Or if it is 2/3, it does pass.
Here it comes. Has everyone voted? Okay, going to end the poll. And 5, 4, 3, 2. Motion fails.
Okay. So the motion failed. Moving along. We have a strategic plan, and we were intending to have a meeting for the center committee, and it wasn't able to be scheduled this month. And so the e-board has discussed it and come up with some ideas for strategic plan. One of the things was to schedule the training, which Brigitte mentioned, that will be March 26th, the training for candidates. And our information officer was going to talk about, or maybe if you'd like to, you could talk about what we can offer a candidate for email blast and so forth.
Yeah, we can use the tools that we have, which are mobilize with the Democratic Party for our endorsed candidates, but it would be using it as the Democratic Party using mobilize out to the people that we have there from the county voter registrar's office and from PDI. But we would be using that. We would not be turning that power over to the candidates. We'd be using it on their behalf. And we can give voter data from the Solano County Voter Registrar's Office, coalesced into usable spreadsheets that people can use. But PDI has a limit of 20,000 that we can extract. And also our terms of service are such that we cannot share that information in any form other than a walk list, which is PDF. But we can use mobile PDI with having your volunteers register with us. And then they can walk using the mobile app.
So we'll be discussing this further and working on that. So watch for more information about the training, and we'll try and, well, when we get our candidates, we'll work on the mobilize and walk lists and other tools. Fundraising for Neil.
Great. Good evening again. We have, the e-board has been discussing ideas for having a fundraiser. You know, we're talking about endorsements and supporting candidates. And we also know that the mother's milk of politics is money. So the two ideas that are coming from the e-board is to have a virtual no crab feed, or a day of donations in lieu of a crab feed. The no crab feed, possibly like a ghost crab feed, would include a program with sponsorships and an auction and whatever else that goes along with the program. The day of donation means we ask for donations, and the suggested donation is $50 from each central committee member without any other trimmings. We'd just be adding to our treasury. So we have a poll. Tom has created a poll to decide what the members want. Do we want to do an all-out event with sponsorships and a virtual event, ticket sales and all that? We'd have to decide a ticket price. Or do we just want to just donate money? And the dates we're talking about, April 23rd or April 30th, that's the day of donation, if we choose that one. But there's a poll that will be coming up. Marge, you have something you want to add to this?
Well, we do need to get money, so this is our idea. And the virtual crab feed could be really fun. We came up with some great ideas for the program, and we could reach out to the same people that get in the program that when we have the actual crab feed. So it could be really fun. But I know everyone's busy, so the possibility of just raising money another way with just asking. And I think we would reach out beyond just us. We would reach out to other Democrats. So Thomas, do you have the poll?
I had a question, and then Dr. Hamilton had a question too.
Oh, okay.
Well, not a question, more of a comment. Sorry, Madam Chair.
All right, yeah, discussion.
Yeah, okay.
Tiffany?
So, yeah, so with the idea of the ghost crab feed, I was, I think we were also talking about just, making sure that there was a separate link for that if we decided to, so we can at least track, how many people participated in that. And then also definitely including clubs and other, Democratic people that might want to go ahead and donate to that particular ghostless crab feed. So I just wanted to say that it wasn't just limited to just us here on the committee, that we, thought about opening it up to everybody else.
There was another hand up, but it disappeared.
Well, I
Okay.
was just gonna make the motion to accept it, but I think it's already, that's where we are already. So I think I was
Okay.
out of order.
It's-
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes, ready for
But
the
we're
poll.
kind of trying to gauge the committee's interest right now.
So you want me to launch a poll or not?
Yes, she's
So-
asking you a question, Margie. Launch the poll or not?
Oh, yeah, launch the poll.
Okay. All right, folks, you need to vote. Neck and neck. For any of you that are asleep,
Did everyone
wake up and
vote?
vote.
If they're asleep,
21,
they committed to
28.
giving $500 each.
Yeah.
Get
Big
the link,
time of
get the link.
things.
I'm gonna let it run for a minute 30. Gonna kill it. You ready? Okay. So it's a no crab, ghost crab feed,
Oh.
but April 30th. And not a lot of people want to volunteer. They just want to give money.
Madam Chair, so I'm a little confused by the poll. What does the committee want to do? Do you want to have the ghostless crab feed, or do you just want to make a donation on April 30th?
That's
So they want to have it on April 30th. 7 people said they'd volunteer. 14 said they give money instead.
Oh, wow.
So
I think this is for the fundraising committee to
Interpret,
interpret. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty close actually between.
it is, it's too close, it's too close.
So maybe we need to set a date for the endorsement committee to meet.
The
Yeah,
fundraising
right.
committee.
If you're on, are you on, who's on this endorsement committee?
Are you talking endorsement or fundraising, Margie?
I mean, excuse me, I'm talking about fundraising. Thank you. But boy, it's so close, and it's really a lot of work for people to
Yeah,
put
for that,
together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So
It's too close.
Madam Chair, if I could not interrupt, but if I could make a comment. Can me and Vernio, since we're both co-chairs of the fundraising committee, if we could get a copy of the poll results to look at them closely. I'm a little, we don't know what direction we want to take at this point. I mean, the reality is, we still need to raise money. We have the, primaries coming up. We have the general election coming up. We're trying to be creative around how we are raising money, with the restrictions that we have, and trying to keep everybody safe. And, if we're just going to donate money, I'd rather us just say that we're going to donate money rather than have the program. So I don't know if we could do a revote or what, but this is not giving us any direction at this point. And I see hands. Lynette was first, Monica, Jeanette, and then Monica. Sorry.
Thank you. I just want whatever you guys make it, a flyer so I can send out to my world so that we can hopefully raise some money. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Jeanette?
So I think what it is telling us that really we don't want to go to a great big expense and have like the program and everything like that, but just have a really well worded flyer that goes out to say, in view of what's going on, we're not having a crab feed, but we need this money very badly. So can you contribute, at least the price of one ticket or more to help us in this venture? And that's kind of, we're asking for the money for everyone who's attended in the past, but not going whole hog and having a virtual event or having the program. We're just seeing what we get when we throw out this well-crafted letter. But we can discuss it as a fundraiser committee.
Yeah. Supervisor Monica?
As far as I'm concerned, since not a lot of people wanted to volunteer for anything, I think the committee should just say, we're asking everybody for $50. I'm not sure why I need another flyer or another booklet. I know who everybody is. But reach out to our sponsors and say, in lieu of, in the past, you've given us, say, $200. We would like 150 or ask the 200, but whatever it is, we have way too much work. I know you guys, I'm already getting texts from everybody going, I got to get to bed. I got to take care of the kids, et cetera, as I keep talking, because that's what I love doing. But anyway, that's how I would direct. Just ask for the money, because you're going to make more money. $50 is like 100 when it comes to the cost of the crab.
Any other comments on this? So do we need to do another poll, or because
I think
we'll make a
this is
decision?
informational, and I think that you chairs take the information and use it
and we'll craft
the
something.
way you see fit.
Yeah, Tiffany, we'll craft something.
Okay, and I think that is the end of the meeting. We will have a moment of silence to think about the people in Kyiv and everyone that's in a violent situation.
Madam Chair, could we go back to Matthew? Because he was crafting some really good.
Oh, okay. Oh, Matthew, do you want? That's a good idea. Thank you. Go ahead and say what you want.
Yeah, thank you. As we adjourn, we reconcile ourselves as outspoken leaders in our community to voice our explicit support for the people of Ukraine, all the free peoples of the world, support for our president and his leadership of this nation, and support for the defense of our own country from threats, foreign and domestic.
Okay, if you want that in the poll, you need to write it in the chat. Because I sent you 3 messages on Facebook.
I tried to get, but I deleted it when I sent it. I'll write it down presently.
Well, we're there to the vote now.
Oh, gosh darn it! If I'd have known that.
Sent you 3 messages, Matthew. Check your messages.
We'll take it as written and vote.
Yeah, take it as written, and I can just This is recorded. We can write it down, right?
Yeah, for Ukraine.
There we go.
I second that motion to adjourn.
There was a motion? Okay.
Yeah, Matthew made the motion, right?
No, I think it was Don.
Blame me, but let's close this thing.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor?
Good night.
Good night.